welcome to the Tiffany Marie Brannon Show. I'm Tiffany Marie Brannon, and today we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Sean Reyes.
TMD.
Hi. What up? So you are the former Attorney General of Utah. You have had the most amazing career in life, and you have spent so much of your life in your professional career, defending children, championing children, protecting children, and now you've entered this amazing new chapter, and you're writing a book, and there's so much exciting, so many exciting things that are coming up.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you the question I ask all of my guests. First of all, thank you for joining us. But that is, what's your faith journey, and how has it informed who you are today?
Oh, that's a great question. Before I answer, let me just say I'm so excited to be on with you.
Thanks.
I've always wanted to come sit down and chat, and we've kind of been in the same circles and not had a chance to talk.
It's finally happening, Sean. We're finally here.
Today's my lucky day. I am, like I say now, blessed and not stressed, and this is amazing to be on with you. I love that question. I'm so glad you asked, because everything I do has that faith component. And so whether it was politics or business or raising a family, going out and trying to serve, it's really just a reflection of my faith and my commitment, my belief in God, and the journey that we're on to try to, help others and serve others and get back to, a loving, eternal family, and bring as many people as we can along and try to reflect God's light. So from that sense, kind of everything is a reflection of my faith and the blessings that, a really generous and loving God has bestowed upon me.
That's incredible. And I think it's just so apparent in who you are. I mean, you radiate joy and
Thank you.
No, really. And the work you've done, especially like with the most vulnerable that we've forgotten, and just being at the forefront of that, and now being boldly talking about things like miracles.
Yes. I'm excited about miracles. I think, Tiffany, are something that a lot of people don't recognize that they have access to.
Yeah.
They have a right to, that a loving God, their Father, would not leave them in this world without all sorts of blessings and opportunities and gifts.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of us sort of taking the time and focus to recognize them and be grateful for it.
Yeah, and I think like maybe something you can share with our listeners is, the story of your parents is so interesting, and like where you came from and how you came to be this incredible, dynamic, amazing person. Maybe you want to share that, because I think it's so pivotal to what you're doing now.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree that it's so much of who I am and of the things that I've been blessed to be able to do are not only a reflection of my eternal father and my spiritual father, but my earthly parents. And I was just extremely blessed to come from a really loving family, hardworking immigrant family. And my dad's story alone is worthy of a movie or two. He came from the Philippines, born there. He was the nephew of the president of the Philippines, so a very prominent, respected family. He was, at a very young age, the personal artist for the Holy Father, the Pope, and
Wow.
as a devout member of the Catholic faith, that was such an honor for him as a young man to be painting the portrait of the Pope there at the Vatican. He was an opening act for Bob Hope, because he was kind of the Elvis of the Philippines. So, and people are like, Bob Hope, who's that?
I love Bob Hope.
The young
Come on.
listeners
They're
and viewers.
children. No, I was at dinner last night, and the kid with me did not know who John Mayer was.
Oh, no.
And that made me feel really
Okay.
old. Okay.
Yeah, I love when they call 80s and 90s music oldies now.
It
It's
makes
like,
me sad. I cry a little bit. I cry just a little bit inside.
But yeah, Pops, he had such a great career. He was a producer for Hollywood films, and then he lost all of that because a dictator rose to power in the Philippines, and my dad had used his influence to try to speak out against that. So he literally had to come to the U.S. to escape for his life, and survived through many miracles. His journey here was a miracle. His ability to stay, it was Coretta Scott King, Martin Luther King's wife, who advocated for him. My dad won the national art contest, the first ever for in memory of Dr. King. And so she said, you know, we've got to keep him here, helped him get on the path to citizenship. He met and married this incredible woman, his sweetheart. My mom, who was from the Big Island of Hawaii, she has so many amazing stories, and she
Hence your beautiful Maui home.
That's right, yeah. And I know your family's got connections.
Yes,
ties
love Maui. Been
Maui.
Had a place in Maui my whole life.
They say they're on that island, Maui no Ka'oi, but it's really the Big Island. The Big Island's the best. Maui's, you know, can fight for second place.
Okay, we can fight about this later. I even think that Moana would disagree personally, but okay.
Because she is Moana, the authority on.
Yes, the fictional character is definitely the authority.
No. But Mama was amazing. She was a career educator. And again, you know, by the world standards, maybe not a miraculous career, but I saw up close how many lives she changed on an individual basis and the choices that she made reflecting God's light to students in impoverished neighborhoods to help give them confidence and education and strength. And so between those two examples and, you know, their relationship and the amount of love that they gave us and their example of hard work and faith and, you know, walking in on my dad on his knees praying for, you know, what seemed like hours. I'd be like, wow, this is how the world is. And
what a gift. Like, I think
amazing gift, right?
Not enough kids have that kind of example in their life. Like, that's amazing.
It was such a blessing to have. And so, you know, looking back, all the good things, my own marriage, which celebrating in a couple of weeks, 30 years of marriage.
Congratulations!
To the greatest human being that I know, my absolute sweetheart, who's still sometimes when she's out working in the yard and I'm driving up and the light just catches her, I'm like, breathtaking. I'm like, she is remarkable. And the mother of our 6 children. So great blessings. And
how did you guys meet, by the way?
Well, it's a long story. Some of it was a little bit by design. I had finagled my way into being able to take pictures of all of the different co-eds in this particular apartment complex. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I was in trouble because my mom said, "Hey, you're not even the best looking guy in your apartment." And she's like, "In fact, you're like the 4th best." I'm like, "Mom, there are only like 4 of us in the apartment." She's like, "Yeah."
Wow, harsh mom.
Mom was an Asian tiger mom.
I mean, fair.
She was loving, but she was like,
I think my mom, even though she's a redhead, is a secret Asian tiger mom. Like, I have that vibe.
Yeah. My mom, I think I got grounded for an A- in AP Calculus in like 9th grade.
Wow.
So that's kind of the level of expectation.
No wonder you're such an underachiever.
Yeah. But my mom's like, yeah, you need to do whatever it takes to be able to find a wife there. It's gonna be, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just take pictures. And so I convinced the person in charge to let me take the pictures. And I just saw this young lady and I was like blown away. And then lo and behold, she's sitting near me in our English class. And so I sidle up like, hey, is this seat taken? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, oh, no, but like, can I sit here? She's like, no, I have a friend who's coming. And so I sat behind her and
did she actually have a friend that was coming?
She actually did, yes.
Okay.
She like never lied in her life. She's so just honest and forthright. And so over a couple of years, we became study partners and friends. And then I was like, hey, this is really maturing into something special. And she said, apparently not special enough for her because she's like, hey, I'm going to leave on a Mormon mission. I'm going to be gone for 18 months. And I'm like, no. Like, I think we've got something, you know, really special.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, if it's special enough, she's like, God's my like, you know, number 1 priority. You're not even a distant second right now. So I want to go serve people. And I want to, you know, she said, you talk about the experiences that you had going out into the world and being able to serve. And she's like, I want those. I want to have that spiritual experience. And so God bless her. She went out, left me. I wrote to her every single week, like, please remember me. Like, I'm still here.
That's so sweet.
And fortunately for me, when she came back, miracles, small miracles, big miracles, everything, the universe and God's grace kind of all coalesced together, and we were able to get married in 1995. And she signed up. I don't know if she realized what she signed up for, because she's all sorts of adventures. For example, she's like, hey, you're doing this like mixed martial arts stuff. You're fighting, and she's like, you're not that good. You're getting like beat up.
So you married mom. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe law school would be a better idea. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And so off we went to law school, and then a family, and then multiple careers. A legal career, then a venture career. I was helping run a tech venture fund, and then this crazy political career. It wasn't something that I'd ever intended to do. It was sort of a reaction. I was upset, responding to some things that I thought weren't going right. And then you know how that goes. And all of a sudden, you run, and then you're in a position, and you're like, wow, okay, now.
You're like, wait, how did I get here? What happened?
Yeah.
And God just opens the door sometimes, and you don't even know, and you just walk through, and you're like, I'm so confused. How did I end up here?
How did I end up here, and why me, and how would you use me, God? Like, what's the highest and best use? And as you had mentioned before, TMB, God's message to me was protect the kids and the children in whatever way. So of course we had other responsibilities, and my job as Attorney General was to defend the law and defend the resources of the state and protect everyone, no matter who they were. But the most vulnerable, seniors, children, often women who were abused or who were being exploited, I took an extra measure of pride, saying, all right, we're going to put resources and time into doing that. Again, so whether it was social media and the assault on our kids, through algorithms, or opioids and the manufacturers who were profiting off of the lives of our young people, or other types of exploitation, whether child sex materials and pornography, or human trafficking, or a whole host of other assaults and threats to America and our kids. Those were areas that I really focused on. That's where I saw a lot of those miracles that we talked about, looking at survivors and the resiliency of women or children who'd been abused, and who could put aside the hurt and the pain and allow God's grace and goodness to fill them, and then use that and reflect that out to others to keep them from suffering. I mean, those were the things that inspired me, and I tried to emulate and tried to bring to some of that hope. And I think that's what miracles often are reminders that God cares and that He loves you, and that gives you hope. And so my goal in writing the book is to give anyone, no matter what their circumstances or situation, no matter how hard what they might be experiencing at the time, some of that hope and a reminder that if you take the time to look around you, the fact that you're breathing and that you can see and hear people that you love are there, that will give you hope and a reminder of your own innate value and eternal worth, and hopefully help you get into a position where then you can pay it forward and be a miracle in the lives of others who are struggling. So that kind of circular arc was something that my parents not only taught me and talked about, but they lived, and I saw them sacrifice a lot to help people. They would take in whomever needed help. I mean, we had people staying at our house, living at our house, who were strangers because
what an example does that, what I mean? Like, that's incredible. Not enough people do that.
It's hard. Well, there's liabilities, and there's, there's safety issues and concerns, and there are all those, justifiable issues. But for them, it was just, look, if we can help, and part of that's cultural, and I think some of it's also just their faith. And I miss them both because neither are with me anymore.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, not physically, like immediately, but I feel them, and they still talk to me and inspire me, and it's great. I'll go to our temple, and it's a place where I feel very close to them and my ancestors and the wisdom, the collective wisdom of all of those generations. That's a miracle. So I hope that that people who might be listening or watching will remember how much God really cares.
Yeah.
And if you had a son or daughter and you were sending them off to a camping trip, for example, this is not a perfect analogy, but it just popped into my mind. You might be able to talk to them on the phone. You're not there with them. What would you do? Well, you'd probably throw some things in their backpack and like, hey, you might need a flashlight. Here's some extra warm gloves. Here's your favorite snack. And when they're out in the cold, in the wilderness, camping and doing what they're doing, hopefully they think about, let me open this bag up, and now there are these resources from a loving parent. That's kind of how I view our life's journey, is that we're out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
The world can be a dark, dark world. Trust me, I know from being in the law enforcement side of things, seeing the worst depravities, the worst types of human rights violations. It's a dark world in the dark web. But God's light is so much more powerful and so much stronger. And if enough of us will look around and remember that He's packed those things in for us, and when we're struggling, the flashlight can come out, and the extra warmth of the gloves. Again, not a perfect analogy, but it just sort of reminds me, and I hope people will remember their own worth. C.S. Lewis said it really well. I think it was his Weight of Glory.
I love that sermon.
Right?
It's like the best.
You've never met. There are
ordinary humans. It's like you've never met a mere mortal.
Right? Or
so funny, I said that earlier.
And that mentality, that was kind of what my parents inculcated. And I try as hard as I can to see people with those eyes, their eternal potential. That
it's difficult. Like I catch myself often being like, Lord,
Oh.
I don't know how this person's created in your image. I don't see it. I don't feel it. I'm supposed to love them. I don't think I can. You got to work there because it's especially dealing with the crazy depraved individuals you've had to deal with, both on the law enforcement side and on as an attorney general.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it.
The political world's one of those places that it's hard.
Man, talk about wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
Like that's something I've learned the last few years being back in the game, where I'm like, wow, I thought you look so nice and fluffy. I didn't know you were gonna bite my arm off. That was a little scary.
Right? No, it's
yeah.
And that's the hardest part about being a Christian is it's easy to love people who are, extremely fluffy and nice and truly, and are giving off all of that wonderful light. But those who are prickly and who are difficult, trying to love them and see their potential, yet that's what we're here for.
But it's so hard, and it's such like a testament to, I always think of how much God loves us, and I think it's so easy as Christians to think like, oh well, I'm not as bad as that person over there, or like, you know what I mean? And like, even if we're not intentionally doing it, there's that internal comparison. And so when I think about like, well, man, if God really loves them as much as He loves me, enough to where if it was just them, He'd still send Jesus to die for them. I guess I have to figure this out. And sometimes it's like trying to understand the space-time continuum, where like it's hard to wrap your brain around things. You know what I mean? But it's true. And, I think to what you said a few minutes ago, God is not dead, and that's something that society seems so hell-bent on, really trying to sell us as this cyanide pill for society now, where it's like, there is no God, the family doesn't matter, all this stuff, you're hopeless. It's past secularism, it's satanic in my opinion. And it's evil, and it's all about like, there is no life, that nothing matters, everything, it's just like the hedonism, the, carpe diem mentality of eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And there's no future looking into eternity. That's what we're being sold as a society. And to look at the miracles and all the things that we have been given in our proverbial backpacks. And they are reminders that God is not dead. God is the God of life. We are, just the fact that we're sitting here, you know, the chances of DNA evolving
Right.
is 1 over 10 to the 180th power. That's a mathematical impossibility.
That's why I say our existence is a miracle.
A miracle.
The abilities that we have, the technology that we have, and sure, they can be exploited and used for bad things, but I believe there's a piece of God in all of that, right? He gives us that intellect and the inspiration to help bless our lives, but it's incumbent on us to use them in ways that are positive. I agree with everything that you said. That you said it so well. It is a remarkable journey that we're on. And
doesn't it feel to you, and I mean, I talk about this a lot, but I think that the reason why so many people in our world are attracted to, I was just reading something this morning about how women no longer, it was actually really disturbing. I couldn't sleep last night, shocker, about how women no longer can find good men, so they're turning to monsters in fiction instead.
Yeah.
And the article was on how women are like in love with vampires and werewolves and whatever, but it's no different to me than looking at like the Harry Potter phenomenon or the Twilight phenomenon, where why is it that society is so attracted to these things? In my opinion, it's because the supernatural is really just a shadow of the transcendent.
right, it is a shadow.
They're
It's like
looking-
Plato's allegory
Yes.
of the den, right? You're only seeing the reflection, not the real.
Exactly. And they're seeking and craving that, they have that inconsolable longing within themselves, that phrase that Lewis used, where they want the transcendent, they want the divine, they just don't know they want it.
Well, you said it earlier, you said satanic, but if you are the adversary and you are trying to frustrate God's plan, and you know that God's going to win in the end, and you're just thrashing out in a tantrum, trying to hurt as many of his children
Yes.
along the way, how would you do it? And all of those designs are really the way.
Yes.
You take away their hope, you take away their ability to connect with people through social media and other things. I'm a tech guy and invested in tech, and
But it can be used for good and evil.
Right.
There's both.
But there is that disconnection that we have now to humanity.
The loneliest generation, the most depression, highest teen suicide
And you
rates.
talked about sort of false fronts and women being attracted to werewolves and vampires. There's a flip side of that too. There's young men. If you look at Japan, for example,
Oh, yeah.
all these men marrying their phones or these avatars
Oh my gosh,
because
yes.
they can't connect.
They're
with real
marrying
human
their
beings.
sex robots, they're marrying their chat GPTs, they're marrying their AI devices, and it's like something out of
The adversary's rejoicing because
Yes.
he's like, look, I've figured out ingenious ways to distract human beings from what's really most important and minimize the family and the importance of that unit and the things that really are at the crux of who we are as human beings. And so I used to work with an organization called Fight the New Drug, which warned people about the threats of pornography.
Oh, amazing.
Not just from the
I have a whole pornography series coming out.
not
so
just from the moral side, but scientifically, right?
the way it affects your neuroplasticity of your
physiologically,
brain,
yes.
erectile dysfunction.
Emotionally. And there was a study that we would often cite. I don't remember the exact name of the scientists, but I think it was from like Sweden or somewhere in Scandinavia. But it was about butterflies. And the study, the male species of that butterfly was attracted to the female because of the markings on their wings. And so what they did in this study was they created fake female butterflies made out of cardboard with hyper-exaggerated markings. And of course, very predictably, the male butterflies
Men.
made a beeline. Yes,
Men.
right? I
telling
throw
ya.
my own side under the bus. They're trying to mate only with the cardboard butterflies to the exclusion of the real, live, beautiful, butterflies around them. But that was a really strong symbol for what pornography is, right? There's these fake cardboard versions of what true human intimacy is, what true beauty is. What real woman can stand up to an AI-generated, fictitious
Who
version
never says
of,
no,
That's
who
right.
loves every sport and every dumb joke, and
Yeah.
will just go along with whatever and has no qualms or no comments and no opinion.
Or reciprocally, what man can live up to sort of expectations of, you know.
Of a werewolf witch vampire.
Yes, right.
Who was like, one of my friends recently, she's a Christian, but she was talking to me, she's like, you know what's really big down here in Orange County right now with all the church wives? There's fairy porn, basically. It's like fairy Twilight, but like
Dragons,
romance
stuff I've
novel.
heard about. So I mean,
I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, they're like hot fairies. I'm like, no, this is not okay.
Yeah, no.
Like, what husband can live up to that? What husband, they're working jobs, their dads, their fathers, they're making sure the house is paid for and they're providing for their families and also hopefully trying to like maintain their own physical health in some way. My dad works so hard. He's such an incredible husband and father, and he's exhausted.
Yeah.
I know so many men. My brother-in-law is wonderful. My grandfather, like these are men that I admire that like, I'm sorry, but no man can compare with like hot, fake, fairy, sexy man porn. I don't even know what that is. But creating these unrealistic expectations and creating these horrible like fake things. There's that Tina Fey joke about creating the perfect woman, and and the Japanese have created this in Kim Kardashian. It's like the Swedish cheekbone and the tiny nose and the hair and the butt and the boobs and. It's
the
like
components with the German engineering.
Yes, exactly.
Right, yeah.
It's like, what are we really doing? Yeah. And what are we selling ourselves so short of? Because it's so unsustainable as a society. We see what's going on with our population decline. You look at the Japanese, they're having massive problems. Why they're finally opening their borders to immigrants, which are now, that's taken a left turn with all the Islamic immigrants they let in. But you look at what happened with Germany. Germany has such a low population problem with their GDP. Yeah. Their own population within the next 10 years isn't going to be able to continue to, produce their economic stability. So you see this where it really is, we can talk about politics, we can talk about economics, we can talk about fertility levels. This is a spiritual battle. This is a demonic attack on humanity because we are God's children and Satan hates us.
And all of the worst societal threats and political dysfunction that I witnessed, I think would be addressed by going back to these fundamental truths and basics and really focusing on those things. If we strengthened families and reinforced through media, whether traditional or social or what have you, some of the tenets that made our country what it was in the first place. Yeah. Those are the things that if we changed or sort of recalibrated our DNA internally from that, then a lot of those other things would take care of themselves. And I can't remember, there was an LDS prophet who talked about putting a puzzle together, and if I get this right, the one side, there was the world on one side of the puzzle, and then there was like a family on the other side. And the punchline or the gist of it was, if he could put the family together, then the world would all fall into place, right? Yeah. And so instead of trying to work the puzzle from the world side, why don't we build the family one by one, individually, support that, policies, programs that truly lift, and again, not partisan, like just.
This shouldn't be a partisan issue, but it's interesting because you look at the left, and I reference this a lot, but when the Democratic National Convention decided to give out free abortions in front of the convention center, that kind of summed it up as a death cult to me. Yeah. And to look at that from I've seen these really disturbing, because I'm a huge pro-life advocate, and I've seen these incredibly disturbing TikToks of women doing dances in the abortion clinics. They're celebrating the murder of their child. And you look back historically at pagan cultures, whether it was like the Canaanites and Baal, and they throw these babies into the belly of this statue and burn them alive, or throw them into pits and caves, and you look at the old Aztec cultures or whatever and see all the child and human sacrifice and just this complete disregard for the value of life and what that's evolved into and become, and how that is the death of the family is really so much at the heart of everything we deal with. And we haven't addressed it from a policy issue. We haven't, like, there's something, an area I do agree with a lot of my more liberal leaning friends on is like, yeah, we should, for mothers that do have to work that can't be full-time, in the home, like, we should have better childcare. We should do that. But something I want to ask you that I keep thinking about that has been asked to me by several of my like atheist, non-Christian liberal friends is they said, I have a question for you, Tiff. I've never heard of anyone talk about child trafficking or sex trafficking except for Christians. Why is that? Why is it that like, this is someone that was really, he was raised in kind of like politics and entertainment world, Hollywood, LA. And he's like, I've never heard of anyone even talk about, I didn't know about sex trafficking or child trafficking until Christians. And I was like, that's a good question. So what's your answer to that?
I've been involved on a lot of the policy side, on the law enforcement investigation, the prosecution side for, well over a decade. And many of my friends have been involved in that fight for multiple decades. A lot of them are Christians. A lot of them are very vocal Christians about this, horrific institution of modern day slavery. But in fairness, there are a lot of non-Christians.
Yeah, for sure. But I just think like as a cultural, it just seems we are a lot more aware and talkative about it.
I think the Savior Jesus Christ's strongest condemnation was reserved for those who hurt children. Yeah. And I think it resonates. It should resonate with all cultures and all religions. And again, I want to be quick to add, I've had friends of all faiths in that fight against human trafficking. But yes, I think maybe Christians have taken it on as a badge of honor in terms of, and we would get criticized. I say we, Christian-leaning, faith-based groups that would work. I've worked with dozens and dozens of nonprofits and NGOs around the world in that fight. And those that we would have prayers, we would talk about God, we'd be ridiculed sometimes by some of the others in the same fight, right? And we always were like, why? Like, you don't have to believe what we believe. You don't have to even share our exact values, but this is something that we all are passionate about. And yet, some of these UN-based entities would condemn us because like, oh, they're just Christian moral crusaders. I don't know exactly what that means, right?
But that are not defending the children that are being, victims of the Muslim rape gangs that are in like Rotterdam or whatever.
Or allowing hundreds of thousands of kids to come across the border and lost and,
sent out to over 300,000 children.
Who knows what kind of predators out
there. Yeah, they found, in some cases, 73 kids with the same address. It's just like, what are we doing? And why? And why don't we, I think, for so long, I don't know if it's just lack of information or the fact that it was such an uncomfortable subject that a lot of people, I think, shied away from it. And I feel like it was a lot of the people in the church that were like, we're not scared.
No, I absolutely will give credit to a lot of really brave voices, and I'll throw some out like Yaku Boyens, down in Texas, Jerome Malam in Florida, who are very devout Christians, and in some cases Jews, from our groups. Heather Fisher, who was our first human trafficking czar, first ever. She is one of my heroes, and she's been fighting, and she's very unabashedly open about her faith, not in a judgmental way. But this is who we are, and this is God's work, and I think I will give credit to many of them for elevating the discussion and bringing more attention to it, because it did take a lot of courage. Most people, when I first started talking about this, when I came into politics, all the consultants were like, don't talk about that.
Really?
Absolutely. They're like, it doesn't pass the Disney test. And I'm like, what does that mean? Now there's even more layers of the Disney test, and you get me started to that. But
I want to know.
What they meant was, it's not warm and fuzzy. And so you sound like, the fourth horseman of the apocalypse. If every time you open your mouth, you're talking about kids being exploited there or dying from opioids or what have you, they're like, that's not fluffy. Like, you want to get reelected. And I'm like, actually, I would prefer not to get reelected and just do what I really think
and save people's lives.
Yeah.
There's a reason why no one wants to I work a lot in the work against fentanyl space. I work with an organization called Victoria's Voice. And
So I love it.
I love it too.
Jackie's one of my dearest friends.
I love Jackie. I'll tell her with
David,
me.
may he rest in peace.
I
Like they
know.
were, that family and Mina and all of them, I helped. Not to digress, but that's again another good
They're
example.
the best. I work with them in producing video content that's telling the
good.
stories of.
See, they need voices like yours.
But just trying to tell the stories of every aspect of this, of the fact that, you know, I was just telling, there's a story of these twin girls who were in the foster care system. They're in the orphanage in LA, and there's pimps and cartels and the gang members. They sit outside where these young kids are, and they will wait for them to come out, and they'll, like, one of them was crying in a bathroom. Well, one of the older girls comes in, you know, she's like 10 or 11, this girl. Like, oh, are you sad? Oh, I have something that'll make you feel better. It's like, yeah, I miss my mom. I'm all alone. Me and my twin sister are here. Well, they give them free fentanyl, and then they get them hooked, and they get them hooked for 3 to 6 months for free, and then they have to start paying. And they're paying out of what? They're paying out of their taxpayer stipend dollars. Right. And all this is to say is that I think that what we've lost sight of, because there's been such a harsh line drawn in the sand where it's like the people that, oh, we're Christians or we're Republicans, and Christians shouldn't be that involved in politics. And it's like, well, it's like, no, that's garbage. Yeah. Laws that are good and true and virtuous, and the people that are courageous enough to stand up for what's right and what's good and true and beautiful in public office, they are doing the Lord's work. That's the reality. And it's because we need law and order. Like, I'm sorry, but the really big part of being a Christian in the 10 Commandments are these 10 things called the commandments that I think we often forget about, that without law and order, without structure, without, God has a plan. And when we go left from that, it's utter chaos.
You bring up a good point. I would have pastors come and kneel down with me in the state capitol in my office and pray with me for God's guidance. I would sit with my own teams, and we would, offer prayers for help and guidance. There are lots of situations where it's no win either way, no matter what you do. And so the LDS Church never called me and said, hey, this is what you need to do, but my faith background informed me, and God. It's
because you're a virtuous man, and having good character and virtue, and I think we lost sight of that. Like, we have men and women with no virtue who are more concerned about getting reelected. I wish more of them were like you. I wish more of them had that center core, where they are more concerned about staying away from the subject that might not be Disney friendly, instead of actually doing something and changing and saving.
And I was blessed to work with a lot of people, I think, like that.
Yeah.
Other attorneys general, other elected and appointed officials. And don't get me wrong, when I was running to win, and I wanted the privilege.
That's the only way you can run.
Right?
You got to run to win.
Because it is a privilege, and it's an honor, and you represent the people, and I wouldn't take that for granted. But by being able to be there, I could continue, hopefully, to reflect God's light, hopefully continue to stand up for those principles and values that you just talked about. But at the end of the day, winning was not more important than God's plan, and so that's why I said that. You know, it's I think that's a superpower in politics if you're not beholden to an agenda and climbing a ladder, and it's like, I will do whatever I think God wants me to do and then live with the consequences. And if one of those consequences is not getting reelected, so be it. And then it's probably a message from God saying, you know what, I may not need you there anymore in that part of the vineyard. And I feel that now. I feel like God gave me a very clear indication. You've sacrificed, your family's given a lot, you've done what I needed you to do in that position at that time, and now I need you other places. And being able to be here with voices like you and personalities, and you do so much good in the world, I really, really appreciate that. We get to work in a different way. There are lots of restrictions, understandably so, when you're in.
Well, I bet you wouldn't be able to be writing this incredible book you're writing.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have the time, I wouldn't have the energy or the flexibility, and the book incorporates some of my family history, but also.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to tell our listeners and viewers, maybe a little bit about where the book's coming from and what that story is going to tell.
Well, it's just a lot of them are experiences that I've had meeting incredible people. And when I say incredible people, these are not necessarily the kings and the princes or the celebrities and rock stars that I've met. These are what people would consider average, everyday folks, but who do extraordinary things, and they inspired me. And because of that, I saw so many miracles around that. And again, I want somebody, whether they're living in a Manhattan, a posh apartment, or in a favela in Brazil without the same access to resources, that they all understand, again, that these experiences and blessings, these little, heavenly care packages that God has placed all around, that if they'll just take the time to recognize them, have a deep gratitude and appreciation for them, and then hopefully that will lift them enough, again, to be able to then become themselves a miracle serving other people. The stories are all centered around experiences, either about service or people overcoming incredible situations or surviving. And some of them are personal, about my upbringing or things that I experienced in public office or before in my career in law or as a venture investor. And so it'll hopefully touch people in a way that reminds them of how special they are, that they aren't ordinary. They're not just a mere mortal, that they have godliness inside of them, no matter what, because I see that so much. It was so much of what we responded to in law enforcement, I felt was a result of people giving up hope.
Yes.
Many of them took their own lives because they didn't feel like they had anything left to give.
They had no one and nothing that cared about them, that thought they were special, or that recognized that they are created in the imago Dei, in the image of God.
It breaks my heart.
It does mine too. You make me cry.
Yeah. I mean, if all we did was save one person or give them that inspiration and that strength to hang on, then it'll all be worth it. I did a show while I was AG, and I got permission, and there was no conflicts, and it's all the stuff that you have to do. But the reason I did the show, and I was a narrator on the show, was called Addiction Unplugged, and it was on A&E, and it was only one season before COVID hit. I wish we were able to do more, but we chronicled people's journeys of overcoming addiction, and then using their experience to reach out and help others, instead of other programs, which I won't mention, but some of them I thought were kind of exploitative. Like, hey, let's watch this family suffer.
Almost like voyeurism.
Where
you're going, you're like,
see if they live or die, and let's get entertained by that.
What you see now, where you see these people being, lit on fire on subways or stabbed to death in buses or whatever, and people are just filming it.
Yeah.
They're just watching instead of stepping in and saving a life.
Disturbing.
It's bizarre to me. It's like they're on safari. Like, when you go on safari, you're not supposed to interfere. You're supposed to let the nature happen. It's like, I'm sorry, we're not animals. We are people.
By the way, way back when I was in high school, these pirated copies of DVD, or not DVDs, of VHS videos.
Wow, you really are old. I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, VHS, right? Beta. It was called Faces of Death. But, this was what, high school kids, when they were drunk, they would watch it because it actually showed people dying. But my point in that, it was taboo. It was something that very few people had access to, and most of their students like, nah, we don't want to watch that. And now, to your point, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere, and so that's just something that we have to contend with.
And it's desensitized to it. Yes.
Yes, and makes us think, oh yeah, this is just another Sunday.
Well, and when you think about why, because I thought a lot about this. I'm writing something on it right now, where it's because when you take out God, this is why communism is the way communism is. Because when you are not created in the image of God, you are a meat popsicle. You are a utilitarian thing. You are just another animal.
Fungible widget that can...
You're just another animal. And that's why I think we take away character from men. We say like, oh, that bothers me a lot, like to the point of pornography, as you said earlier. We've encouraged generations of men to just be like, oh, you can't help it. You have a sexual urge. You just can't help it. It's good for you. It's healthy. Just explore, sow your wild oats. I'm sorry. We have this little thing called self-control.
Yes.
And prudence.
Brava. Yeah.
And we have these things that are innately in us because we are created in the image of God. I'm not a another animal. All these guys are not horses, pigs, dogs, whatever. Like, sorry, we are stewards of those. Yeah. We are not them. Right. And when you take away that, like, you take away the value of life, and you take away
sacredness,
yes,
and the beauty and the majesty, yes, of,
and it's the whole idea of like collectivism versus individualism. And you know, when C.S. Lewis was at the end of his life, Walter Hooper, his assistant and biographer, he asked him, he said, you know, what is it that you want your legacy to be? And I'll never get over this, and I think about it all the time because it's not what I thought. He said, everything I've done has been to fight against reductivism, and the reducing of man to a sum of his parts.
Right.
And you're going like, wow, that's what we're doing now. And how do we fight against that within our larger society and the roles that God's been given to us?
I love that from C.S. Lewis, because you think about it, Tiff, if you look at some level, whether it's wars or tribalism or a lot of the different dysfunction that we have in society, so much of it emanates from insecurity. Why are people insecure? Because they feel less than others, because C.S. Lewis would talk about, there's this comparison to others, or a reduction of that you are not this wonderful being that's, you know, divine in nature, that you're whatever society
you're
has
a talent
you,
or skill or height or strength.
And so I think people innately feel insecure about that, and so they have to do things to make themselves feel better. So it might be just one person acting out and lashing out against a neighbor because they feel like they have to be valued somehow in society. We've you know, set up some perverse incentives for how we value each other. But a country, you know, I feel insecure about, like, I'm going to exercise my dominance over someone else. And so in my mind, a lot of what I dealt with was really a manifestation of insecurity at some level. And I think that might be part of what, like, C.S. Lewis was talking about.
It's a spiritual longing and not knowing where your value or worth matters, because you don't have the answer, because we've told them the answer is, you know, more relationships, more money.
It's dollars, it's likes,
fame,
it's a number of...
being an influencer.
Yeah, right? A number of things. And again, those things aren't inherently evil or bad.
No.
They're just not the greatest and highest measure of who you are.
They're just not the ultimate thing.
That's right. And so if you get caught up in that being your barometer, if that is your God, so to speak, your idol, then you'll never be fulfilled. You'll never be satisfied. And so the only true satisfaction and fulfillment, at least to me, is, again, understanding who you are, having that relationship with God, being able to fulfill your divine destiny by serving others and those people around you, and giving back, and then you know, leaving that kind of legacy, like C.S. Lewis said, that you hopefully have given everybody maybe a little bit more hope, maybe a little bit more light, more reason to live. But this is so fascinating. I could do this.
I know. We could talk all day. You have to come on for another episode.
I think I'm going to create a new show. No offense to this show, but I would have... No.
We should do that. We should have another thing. You'll be my recurring guest. I'm not kidding, John. You have to come on and talk about, and plus, after the book comes out, you have to come back so we can tell everyone where to buy it.
I will.
And I just want to say, you know, before you go, thank you on behalf of all of us for the work you have dedicated your life to doing, and the man that you so clearly are, and are there for other young men and women to look up to. And thank you on behalf of all the children that you have saved, and all the people, all the forgotten individuals that your life has made a difference in saving. I want to say thank you personally for that.
You know, I appreciate that so much, Tiff. The things that meant the most to me in public service were not the awards and the accolades and, you know, like we were talking about, the rising star stuff. It was the quiet notes from people like that, or the Addiction Unplugged show. Having somebody just email and say, I'm still alive because of your show. And,
you never know. It's like the whole Angels Unaware thing. You literally never know.
You never know. One smile, one acknowledgement, that could be the miracle that keeps somebody else alive or gives them just enough to feel like they mean something. And those are the miracles, not the grandiose ones, although those are nice sometimes. Not the parting of the Red Sea or you know, water to wine, but
I mean, that would be nice too, but yeah.
don't get me wrong. No, but your father's example and your grandfather and your uncle that you were talking about, just living a solid, respectable life and being that example to others. Those are the miracles I think are most precious and that we don't acknowledge enough. So I hope that the miracle methodology or the miracle, mentality, that more people will adopt that and that it'll bless even more lives.
Well, I already know it will. Do you want to tell people where they can find you and follow you and be ready to pre-order that book?
Well, we have a website, SeanReyes.com. We're just relaunching. I've stayed quiet in this last year, just trying to enjoy family time, but I feel like, it might be time now again to start getting back out and raising my voice for some of these causes.
Well, I know, I'm so grateful you have, because what you have to say is so important, and very few people in our space say it as eloquently or as passionately as you do.
Thank you.
No, thank you for coming on.
This is awesome. I hope to see you in Hawaii. There is a cool show called Chief of War, if you haven't seen it. Jason Momoa spent like 10 years.
No, I haven't seen it.
It's a lot of it in native Hawaiian language. It's very authentic to the culture. And so,
okay, I've got to watch it. I can say the national fish, the humu humu nuku nuku akua'a.
Wow.
I can do that.
You see?
I can do that.
You're kama'aina. You're local now.
Yeah, I am kama'aina.
If you can say that.
Get that kama'aina discount, don't you worry.
Now, one spoiler alert: Maui, because it's historical, is kind of the big bad guy in the movie. So their island, because there were warring islands.
Oh, fine. Maui always is like the bad boy. I don't know what the deal is. I think it's because it's the hottest island. I'm just saying. But seriously, thank you. I'm totally gonna check it out. But genuinely, thank you so much for being here and for joining us on the
thank you.
show.
TMV, what up? We got you.
And awesome. For everyone watching or listening at home, thank you for joining us, and thank you for tuning into this incredible conversation about miracle, hope, God, and all of the above. And we hope to see you and hear you and everything next time. But until then, further up and further in.